Hola clase. In this unit, we will wrap up our study of the preterite tense in terms of learning the forms of the preterite. This is our fifth form, and it belongs to what we call special verbs in the preterite. They're in their own category. Some textbooks group them with other types of verbs, but we like to present them just as a group by itself because they all show some peculiarity. For example, ver is conjugated just like a normal ER verb in the preterite, but with no accent marks. The reason we don't need these accent marks is because these two forms, yo and él, ella, usted forms, are one syllable. And in Spanish, one syllable words only need an accent mark if there's another word spelled the same that means something different. For example, él, he has an accent mark, but él, the doesn't. In the case of be and bio, no other words exist, only these. And so the accent mark is not necessary. Remember, the accent mark indicates the stressed syllable in a word. If a word is only one syllable long, that's the stressed syllable. So there's no need for an accent mark. So in that sense, it's not irregular. It follows a spelling convention in Spanish. But because visually it doesn't have the accent mark, we include it here for your sake. Dar is another verb that belongs in this group. Notice it takes the same endings as ver. So it's an AR verb, but it takes ER, IR endings. That's pretty unusual. So di, diste, dio, no accent marks for the same reason. Dimos, disteis, dieron. Yeah, so dar and ver, same endings, only the first letter is different. And then ir and ser are in this group of special verbs because they share the form. So fui is both the preterite of ir and the preterite of ser. Fui a Tucson el mes pasado. I went to Tucson last month. Fui estudiante una vez. I was a student once. So there's no way to tell them apart by themselves. You can almost always, if not always, tell them apart by context. And that's because ir often takes the preposition a to indicate your destination. Fui a San Diego, fui a España, fui al Japón, etc. Whereas fue with ser doesn't, and it's usually described, ¿no? Fue un poco interesante. Bien. So you have your practice here as usual and some exercises that you can do. Not many, not as many as the other verbs because there's not much you can do with only 4 verbs. But this wraps up your preterite conjugation studies, and from here on you'll be using all of these forms. Bien. Muy bien, pues clase. Hasta luego.